Hello, I'm Scott Spears, producer-director for the Legacy of Eastgate. I'm working with my co-producer, Christina Palucci, to tell the story of this little-known neighborhood on Columbus's east side. When I first moved to Eastgate 5 years ago, I didn't really know much about the area. And now I've learned that it has a rich history going back to Columbus's early days and has remained a vibrant neighborhood. We received a small grant from the Greater Columbus Arts Council to start the documentary, but now we need more funds, and that's the reason we're going to Indiegogo and to you. We're starting to move into the editing phase, so we need extra funds to pay for stock footage and photos, music, and to finish the final editing and sound mix. Please take a look at this preview we've edited, and we hope it inspires you to take a look at some of the perks we're offering, and you support this worthy project.
On the east side of Columbus is a little-known but vibrant neighborhood called Eastgate, sandwiched between the near East Side and Bexley. This neighborhood has remained a stable and vibrant area.
Well, this part of the world began to be settled in the years after the American Revolution, when the new government of the United States discovered that it hadn't paid about 8,000 men in its army for several years, and it didn't have any money to pay them. But what it did have was land. A lot of land.
This land was given to a Colonel Bradford. It's part of the refugee land. He then deeded 317 acres of it to Robert and Martha Nelson.
Eastgate began as a small settlement formed by the Nelson family who came to the area in 1789. First, they built a cabin, which was followed by a brick house that was built in 1819 and still stands on Nelson Road, making it one of the oldest residences in Columbus. The Nelsons built a lumber mill on Alum Creek, making the area one of the main sources of lumber for the east side.
What you have around the Nelson Mill and the Nelson family farms is essentially a little village that's coming into being.
As Columbus grew out around the area, Eastgate was formed in 1916 as an automobile suburb.
July of 1917 were the first ads in the Columbus Dispatch. The Baldwin brothers hired William Pitkin to be the landscape architect of Eastgate. At the same time, Pitkin also designed parts of Upper Arlington, Fifth Avenue, and Riverside Drive.
The distinctive design featured curved streets and islands for planting. Through the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, Eastgate was a middle to upper middle class neighborhood, which prospered as Columbus expanded.
Eastgate, I guess, was a place where there were a lot of families that I liked and felt comfortable with. It was a very family-oriented place, and the families, most of them had kids, and therefore I had a lot of people to play with, and it just was a good feeling place.
Arbor Day was very important. They would give the children silver maple trees, and we brought those home and we planted them as our trees were cut down and carried away. We planted these silver maples.
A sports star blossomed on the East High School football field located in Eastgate in the form of Chick Harley, who went on to play for the Ohio State University.
Ohio Stadium was the house that Harley built because he was such an outstanding player.
In the 1950s, change came to Eastgate.
Cities are essentially places of change. They're always changing. They're always evolving in one form or another. Eastgate basically saw a change from being pretty much a white community to a black community in the 1950s.
A lot of black residents started to move into the neighborhood, and I would say 53 and 54 were huge years.
A major factor in this change was the number of veterans returning from World War II who wanted to start their civilian life. Many found a home in Eastgate. This small neighborhood became the home for 5 Tuskegee Airmen, the famed fighter pilots who kept American bombers safe while venturing into enemy territory. Many prominent African Americans made their homes in Eastgate, including Judge Robert Duncan, who ordered the desegregation of the Columbus City Schools, Harvey Alston, who was the first black inspector on the Columbus police force, Edna Bryce, who ran a famous flower shop on the east side, Eddie Saunders, who, as the first successful black radio disc jockey in Columbus, interviewed many well-known names like Stevie Wonder, Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, and Sarah Vaughan. Eastgate continues to prosper and has remained a stable area even through the financial crisis of 2008. It is a neighborhood that is held together through strong family ties and the vision of its residents.
I'm blessed and I'm glad that my children found this house in Eastgate so that they could be raised up in a nice, decent area of Columbus.
This is a neighborhood where people work together and care about each other.
But our home base was here, and I love Eastgate. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
It was so beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely place, and it was unsullied in a way. You know, it was just kind of a Shangri-La.
It's a great secret.
This was a comfortable neighborhood. It was a nice, quiet neighborhood. It gave them all the things that they wanted. You kind of have a sense of community here.
And it was more like a village raised, your children, because all the neighbors looked out for each other.
It was a very pleasant environment. We loved the neighborhood, and it was almost kind of places where you knew your neighbors. It was just, it was very ideal, still is.